Pearl S. Buck, an American writer and novelist, has once said that growth itself contains a germ of happiness. Now, at Media Agility, we believe the same, that it is when we grow that we are at our happiest selves. So, that is the reason why we introduce the individual growth plan, where you become limitless, list down your aspirations, and plan your own growth. This special edition podcast is going to be all about individualized growth plan with our guest, Arpit Agrawal, Vice President for Telecom, Media and Gaming in Media Agility. Arpit is a firm believer and practitioner of this concept, even before it was formally launched in the organization. Hi Arpit, welcome.
Hello, Swaroop. Thank you for having me here.
So let's jump directly into the heart of the matter. What do you think of designing your growth?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent concept. It's a very powerful concept. A lot of people don't think about their growth themselves. And that is where I think this program really provides a framework for one to design one's own growth. So, one of the most underrated questions that one can ask oneself is, where do you see yourself in another 5 years, right? So people generally don't think about it. I did not think about it for a very long time, but then once you start designing your own self for the next 5 years, then you can work towards it. And a lot of people don't know which direction to head because they don't know their direction. And if I ask this question to myself, so if I can articulate in very, very clear words, what does the future Arpit look like in another 5 years? And if I can write down everything that I'm doing on that day in 5 years from now, right from I get up in the morning till I go to bed, what kind of work am I doing, what kind of office am I enjoying, what kind of culture am I a part of, what kind of clients am I working on, what projects, what technologies, what kind of a team, that provides a great direction for me to then think about how to act now. So to be able to do things now, to be able to decide so DYG provides you with a framework for decision making, because now once you know what your north star is, now once you know what your direction is, you can take your present decisions to make sure that you're moving forward in that direction. And so if your direction is north, if you want to go north, you're not taking a decision that will take you south. So if in the future, let's say I want to be an excellent data scientist, I will not work on a Java program right now because that doesn't take me to where my goal is. So that's how simple it gets. And it is very powerful for everybody irrespective of where they are, right? So for kids in school, when they're deciding to go to college and they don't know where they want to be, they should fast forward their life and decide what they want to be in life in another 5, 7, 10 years, and that will give them a direction. If you really want to be a dentist, then study for that. If you really want to be a lawyer, then study for that. And you won't be deciding based on, okay, what is available to me and what are my marks and which college is good. All of those are secondary questions. More important is, where is it that you want to be in life, and then use that as your direction marker and take all your decisions in the now based on that direction.
You want people to articulate their thoughts and not just articulating. I think it would be more of making sure that they are giving a name to their aspirations and calling them out.
Okay. Yeah, so one of the things that you mentioned, right, that I used to do this even before this was formalized within the company, that is actually very true. So I would sit down with my wife and we would write down our goals together, like what are our goals for the next 5 years. We would write them down on a piece of paper and we would put that in our closet. We would stick them in our closet so that every morning we get to look at them, and we want to make sure that whatever decisions we are taking in the now are in the right direction, and we are not lost. So that is where this thing really helps. So when you can really visualize your future self, it gives you a lot of confidence. So one of the problems in our industry is, many a times, people get overwhelmed and they get frustrated, and they wake up one morning and ask the question, why am I even doing this? Right? Why am I working on this project? Why am I working in this job? This is not where I want to be. And if you have this framework, if you design where you want to be in 5 years, if you write those down, if you put that in your closet, every time you have this question, why am I even here, why am I even doing this, go to your closet, read that piece of paper. If whatever you are doing is actually taking you in the direction where you want to go, then there is absolutely no need to feel frustrated. You are actually doing the right thing. You are actually doing the thing that you want to do, and it is probably just an emotion of the moment. So once you look at that, you can decide and either say, yeah, maybe I don't need to feel frustrated because this is actually great, because it's taking me one step closer to my goal. Or you can say, you know what, really, this does not, whatever I'm doing today does not align with my goal. And that is also good, because now you know for sure, and now you can go and say no and prioritize your life, and look at other projects, and look at other maybe clients or other work, or whatever is it that will take you closer to your end. Discuss that with your coach, right? In media agility, the concept of coach is extremely powerful, because you sit down with your coach. Like I said, I used to sit down with my wife because that was more about life goals, but the same thing applies to work. I can sit down with my coach and design my work life in 5 years from now, and that gives me a framework. And at any point, if I feel that um, whatever I'm doing does not align with that direction, I can actually sit down with my coach, design the work to make sure it aligns with my growth aspirations. And Media Agility is one of the very few companies that I've seen that would keep an employee's aspirations in mind when designing the work. It's even more than keeping your current capabilities in mind. It is more about the aspirations that we focus on.
Absolutely.
Because yeah, the capabilities can be improved, the skills can be taught, and if you have the right motivation, if you have the right aspirations, it is much easier to get new skills through our lifelong learning programs, through mentoring, through coaching. There are multiple ways to get there, but we really want people to have the right motivation, right aspirations, and for people to realize what their aspirations are, to people to realize where they want to be, and to be able to articulate that. So I hope I was able to answer the question.
Yes, you were. And thank you for sharing your story with your wife. That was incredibly sweet and
Yeah.
very impressive because, setting goals together and following through with them is commendable. So thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
and that was extremely powerful for us also. I mean, we wrote down, let's say, so the way I do it is, let's say it's 2022 right now, and sometime in March, so I would say March 2027, what does my day look like? So I would put that date on the piece of paper, and I would start writing those goals. And we wrote down when we should buy a house, when we should buy a bigger car, when we should travel to this place, and when we should go to that country. And like, there were a few goals which were materialistic, and there were few goals which were, let's say, beyond that, and more spiritual and life goals and things like that. And once you write it down, then you have a framework. And it was so surprising when we did it for the first time, because every time we would achieve a goal, we would go and put a date on the paper that okay, this we had targeted to, let's say, buy a house at this date, but we actually bought it at this time. And human beings generally almost always underestimate the long term and overestimate the short term. Because we planned 5 years at a time, because we set our goals for the long term, we were able to achieve everything that we wrote on that piece of paper before that time frame. But I will also tell you this: people start planning 6 months at a time, people set short term goals and then try to design their lives. That is not the way to do. That is not the way to go about it. Okay, you have to think about where you want to be in 5, 7, 10 years, because that long term, 5 year is a good sweet spot, because that is not super long, but that is still visible. And if you are planning for 5 years at a time, that is long term enough that you can design your life. It's about your life. It's not about 3 or 6 months. 3 or 6 months is just one quarter. You need to execute on that direction in the next 3 to 6 months. So if you set goals for 3 to 6 months, then you're not really designing your life. You're just too caught up in the current moment. Another thing which I would like to mention is, a lot of people tell me, we should live in the moment, and that is absolutely correct. I'm not saying that nobody should live in the moment, and people should not obsess, definitely not obsess about their goals in 5 years and things like that. But like I said about before, right, it gives you a direction. What you really need to use your 5-year goals is as a direction marker, so that you know where you want to be. Like I said, if you want to be a data scientist, don't write a Java program. So do all your actions in the current moment with focus, but you need a direction marker. Okay, so to make sure that whatever actions you are doing right now are in the right direction. Okay, you're not wasting your time. You're not spending time on things that will eventually burn you out. So to make sure that you have that framework, this DYG and goal setting is extremely important.